Welcome back to the deep dive. So picture this. You've gone for a medical test. Could be routine, could be something you're, worried about. And the result comes back, let's say, negative. Phew. But then just before that relief really sinks in, you get that little nagging doubt. Okay, negative, but was that test really accurate? Can I actually trust this?
Oh yeah, that uncertainty is incredibly common. We all feel it because, we see a number, a word, positive, negative, but that result, it doesn't mean much unless you understand the quality behind the test itself.
Exactly. It's not just about the result. It's about the test's own report card, basically.
Precisely. And that's what we're diving into today. Two absolutely critical concepts for judging any diagnostic test.
Yeah.
Sensitivity and specificity.
Right. Our mission here is pretty simple. We want to help you understand the two main ways a test can, get it wrong. Are you being told you're healthy when you're actually sick? That's one risk.
And the other risk is being told you're sick when you're perfectly fine. Both have huge implications.
Understanding these two ideas, sensitivity and specificity, is key to seeing the strategy behind why doctors choose certain tests.
Mm-hmm. We'll unpack how they work, where each one shines. Mm-hmm. Is it better for initial screening or is it for locking down a final diagnosis? And why often you can't have perfect scores on both at the same time.
Okay, let's get into it. First up, sensitivity. We're calling this one the catcher.
The catcher. I like that. Yeah. So sensitivity, it measures how good the test is at its main job.
Yeah.
Finding the people who are truly sick.
So the question it answers is, if you genuinely have the disease, what's the probability this test will actually pick it up? Will it catch you?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And the core goal of a highly sensitive test is to minimize one specific, really bad mistake. The false negative.
Right. The false negative. That sounds bad.
It is. A false negative happens when someone does have the condition, but the test comes back saying healthy or negative. The test completely missed it.
Which is dangerous, obviously. You send a sick person home thinking they're fine.
Precisely. So high sensitivity is all about preventing that. It's designed to catch as many true cases as possible.
Okay, so how do we measure that? How's the calculation work?
Well, you look only at the group of people you know are truly sick. Then you see how many of those people the test correctly identified as sick. We call those the true positives. TP for short.
Got it. True positive sick people the test correctly identified.
Right. Then you divide that TP number by everyone who was actually sick. That includes the true positives plus the ones the test missed, the false negatives, or FN.
Ah, okay. So the formula is sensitivity, TP divided by TP plus FN.
That's the one. It basically tells you what percentage of the actually sick people the test managed to catch.
Let's make that concrete. The sources mention the HIV ELISA test. That's a common screening test, right? Known for being super sensitive.
Yeah, extremely sensitive. Often around 99.9%.
Wow. 99.9%. So what does that practically mean?
It means if you had, say, 1,000 people who genuinely had HIV, this test would correctly identify 999 of them. It's incredibly unlikely to miss someone who has it.
Okay, so the takeaway for you, the listener, is if you take a test with really high sensitivity like that and it comes back negative,
you can feel very, very confident about that negative result. The test is specifically designed not to miss cases. A negative result is highly reliable.
Which explains why these kinds of tests are used for.
Primary screening. Exactly. Think about screening for infectious diseases or certain cancers where catching it early is critical. You need high sensitivity there.
Because the priority is don't let anyone slip through the net.
Right. The cost of missing a true case, a false negative at that early stage, is just too high. You'd rather have a few false alarms you can sort out later than miss someone who needs treatment. It's risk management 101.
Okay, so that's the catcher sensitivity. Casting a wide net, prioritizing finding everyone who might be sick. But casting a wide net, well, sometimes you catch things you weren't looking for. Healthy people might get flagged.
Mm-hmm. And that brings us perfectly to the second pillar, specificity. If sensitivity catches the sick, specificity is about protecting the healthy. We're calling this one the validator.
The validator. Okay, so what question does this one answer?
Specificity asks, how good is this test at correctly identifying the people who are truly healthy? How well does it reassure the well?
Ah, so it's about avoiding the other kind of mistake, the false alarm, the false positive.
Exactly. A false positive, or FP, is when someone is perfectly healthy, but the test comes back positive saying they have the disease.
Which can cause a whole lot of unnecessary worry, right? And maybe more tests, procedures.
Absolutely. Immense anxiety, maybe even treatments that are not only unnecessary but could be harmful. High specificity aims to prevent exactly that.
So how do we measure specificity? Is the formula similar?
It's parallel, but focuses on the healthy group. You look only at the people you know are truly healthy. Then you count how many of them the test correctly identified as healthy. These are your true negatives, or TN.
Okay, true negatives, healthy people, the test correctly identified as healthy.
Correct. Then you divide that TN number by everyone who is actually healthy. That's the true negatives, plus the ones the test mistakenly flagged as sick, the false positives, FP.
So specificity equals TN divided by TN plus FP.
You got it. It measures how well the test correctly identifies those who don't have the disease.
Wait a second, that feels slightly counterintuitive. You're saying a test used to confirm if someone is sick is actually measured by how well it identifies healthy people.
It sounds odd, but think about it this way. High specificity means the test is really good at ruling out the disease in healthy people. So, if a high specificity test does come back positive, you can be much more certain that it's a real positive for the disease, not just some random interference or a similar condition.
Okay, I think I see. It's about making sure a positive result is truly positive for the target disease.
Precisely. It validates the positive finding.
The sources gave the PSA test for prostate issues in men as an example here. A positive PSA can trigger a lot of follow-up.
Exactly. And sometimes that elevated PSA is due to cancer, but other times it might be due to something benign, like just enlarged prostate BPH.
So the man is healthy from a cancer perspective, but the initial screening test flags him. That's a false positive for cancer.
Right. Which is why you always need further, more specific tests, confirmatory tests after a screening test like that comes back positive. You can't rely on the screening result alone for a diagnosis.
So the clinical lesson. A positive on a screening test means pay attention, but not panic yet.
That's a good way to put it. And this is where high specificity tests become essential. Confirmatory diagnosis.
This is the final step before treatment.
Usually, yes. This is where you need maximum certainty. Before you make a life-altering diagnosis, before you start treatments like surgery or chemo, you need a test that minimizes the chance of a false positive. You must avoid treating someone who doesn't actually have the disease.
So high specificity is the ultimate check against a false alarm leading to unnecessary action.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, so we have the catcher, sensitivity, avoids missing sick people, and the validator, specificity, avoids alarming healthy people. Logically, you'd want a test that's 100% on both.
Ah, the dream. But yeah, in reality, that's very rare. Which brings us to this idea of the golden balance.
The trade-off.
Exactly. There's almost always a trade-off. Think of it like a dial. You turn up sensitivity, you adjust the test to catch more subtle cases, and you usually inadvertently lower the specificity a bit. You start catching more almosts or lookalikes, leading to more false alarms.
And vice versa. If you crank up specificity for absolute certainty on positives,
you might make the criteria so strict that you miss some borderline or early stage cases. You increase the risk of false negatives.
So the strategy isn't about finding one perfect test, but using the right test at the right time.
Precisely. It's a deliberate strategy. For primary screening, we lean towards sensitivity.
Catch everyone first, except a few false alarms.
Right. Because missing a case is the bigger danger at that stage. But then, if that screening test flags something,
you switch gears, move to confirmatory testing.
And now the priority flips entirely. We favor specificity. We need certainty before making that final call, before starting treatment. The consequences of a false positive are now much higher.
It's quite elegant, actually, a staged approach to managing risk.
It really is.
Now, to help everyone listening really lock this difference in, the sources had a great analogy, kind of funny, but very effective, comparing sensitivity and specificity to personalities.
Yes, this is probably the easiest way to remember. So, a highly sensitive test.
Yeah.
It's like the suspicious mother.
Okay, the suspicious mother. Tell me more.
Well, she's always checking, always looking. She searches everything, backpacks, pockets, under the bed. Her goal is safety, making sure nothing, absolutely nothing, is missed.
So she basically guarantees she won't miss anything dangerous, minimizes the false negative.
Exactly. She will catch it if it's there.
Yeah.
But she might also raise the alarm over things that turn out to be nothing, right? Her suspicion isn't always grounded.
Lots of false positives, unnecessary worry, maybe some grounding based on finding gum wrappers.
Something like that. She ensures safety, but maybe causes a bit of unnecessary stress along the way.
Okay, got the suspicious mother, high sensitivity. What about the other side? High specificity.
That's the wise father.
The wise father. Okay.
He's the benchmark for certainty. He doesn't jump to conclusions. He gathers all the evidence. He only speaks, only acts when he is absolutely sure.
So he rarely, if ever, makes a mistake that leads to the wrong action. He minimizes the false positive. No wrongful accusations from him.
Correct. You can trust his judgment when he confirms something. But because he waits for that absolute certainty.
He might miss the very first subtle signs of trouble, the things the suspicious mother would have flagged instantly.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
He might miss some early ambiguous clues because he prioritizes being correct when he does make a call.
That's actually a really helpful analogy. Suspicious mother catches everything but raises false alarms. Wise father is certain but might miss early hints.
Exactly. And understanding that helps you see the logic in the medical process. When your doctor orders a quick, maybe cheaper, high sensitivity screening test first.
The suspicious mother check.
Right. And then, if needed, follows up with a more complex, perhaps slower or more expensive, high specificity confirmatory test.
The wise father validation.
You now understand why. They're moving strategically from casting a wide safety net to establishing solid certainty before making a final decision.
It demystifies the process a bit. It's not random, it's a calculated approach.
Absolutely. It's about filtering risk and making sure the final diagnosis and treatment plan rests on the most reliable information possible for that specific stage of the process.
Okay, let's try and summarize the core difference one last time.
Sure. Sensitivity, that's about avoiding missed cases, finding the sick, keeping the suspicious mother happy, maximizing safety early on.
Got it. And specificity.
Specificity, that's about avoiding misdiagnosis, avoiding false alarms, avoiding unnecessary action, validating results, keeping the wise father satisfied, ensuring clinical certainty before you act.
Both vital measures of test quality, just applied differently depending on the goal.
Couldn't say it better. They tell you different things about how the test performs.
So that wraps up our deep dive into sensitivity and specificity. The next time you're looking at lab result, hopefully you see more than just positive or negative.
Yeah, hopefully you see a strategy. You can start to ask, okay, what risk was this particular test designed to minimize for me right now?
Which brings us to our final thought, something for you to reflect on. Thinking back, maybe you've had a medical test result that felt off or misleading somehow. Reflecting on what we've discussed today, the suspicious mother versus the wise father, do you think that particular test was maybe prioritizing sensitivity, accepting the risk of a false alarm to ensure nothing was missed?
Or was it perhaps prioritizing specificity, aiming for certainty even if it meant potentially overlooking something subtle or early?
Something to mull over. Understanding this can change how you view your own healthcare journey. We encourage you to think about it. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive, and we'll see you next time.